Hi, Jamie with Fayette County Extension, and today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite perennials. I'm afraid this one is not a native plant, but it is a really great plant for the right location. This all didn't just happen. It is a plant that will spread and run, but not outrageously aggressively. This is Leadwort or Ceratostigma, sometimes called plumbago. There are many things that go by the common name plumbago, and that can get confusing. This is a low-growing perennial that flowers for an incredibly long time. And the shade of blue-purple that you get in these blooms is one of the best of that version of blue you can get in the plant kingdom. This plant has wiry, thick stems, blooms for months, typically late summer onward to fall. Typically starts about the time the daylilies are winding down, like in July, so it'll give you some things for that summer slump. It's beautiful in flower, and these small flowers are worth growing the plant for alone. It's very durable, it's very tolerant, best in sun, but you can grow it in partial shade. You just get a reduction in flowering, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's a great plant if you need something that can fill in and give you kind of a low ground cover. It is deciduous, or herbaceous, so all of this dies to the ground in the winter. But it has one last trick up its sleeve, and we're starting to get into some of this right here. After this has flowered for months, and we start getting into the cool temperatures right about the time we're getting frost and freeze, the whole plant, all of these leaves, you can see a little bit of it here, and here's a little better example. It's beginning to turn brilliant red, like burning bush red foliage. So if I can get those in light, this is what we're looking for that last grand finale. The whole plant turns red while continuing to put out an abundance of these blue flowers. And that combination of blue against red is very, very striking for a couple of weeks in the fall, right before this plant succumbs to the cold. Very easily grown, very readily available. Don't put it in a tiny tight spot because it does spread some. In all honesty, this huge planting here went in as about 50 to 60 plants a couple years ago, so it's not as aggressive as this would lead you to believe, but the better the soil, the faster it will spread. One other thing that I should share with you, once it's established, it's very easily grown, but be aware that it's late to emerge, which can be good or bad depending on what you have it paired with. But this is one of those plants that is not likely to start pushing up in the ground until maybe sometime in May, long after everything else has emerged. So what happens is I am really prone to coming along and digging into the roots of this before it's up to plant something else. And that, of course, will set this back. It's not a big deal, and it's also wonderful to partner with things like daffodils and bulbs that come up and fill the space earlier and then will yield to this as it starts emerging. Ceratostigma, Leadwort, plumbago, whatever you call it, it's a great plant for the perennial garden. It will weave in and around bigger perennials like daylilies, shrubs, things like that. And when it gets going, it will smother most of the weeds, do what you want a ground cover to do. It just does not give us evergreen in the winter. But I'll take that trade-off for the beautiful fall foliage and also these months and months of beautiful blue flowers.